Hi, welcome to Dave's Desk, another video where I have the privilege of interviewing really cool people just for you. Today, absolutely no exception to that, we have Professor Paul McGee. He's a mucker of mine in the speaking industry. He's a professional speaker, globally renowned. Capston's, I believe, best-selling author. Applause to you, kudos, mate. He's got several books out covering subjects ranging from inner confidence, how to manage people, how to shut up and move on in your life, how to help young people and teenagers, and presentation skills, how not to worry. The list is endless. But his books, and I hope he appreciates how much I mean this. Some books are good, some books are all right, some books have an impact. Paul's books have an impact. We'll pick his brains on that in a minute. So, welcome, Paul.
Dave, it's really, really good to be joining you. Thanks for having me on, sir. Really appreciate it.
So, I've already got academic prowess envy. So, how did you become a professor, mate?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing what universities will do if you donate £5 million to them, mate. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Or, interestingly enough, so I'm a visiting professor at the University of Chester. And just so, in case I get any lawyers are listening, no, I didn't actually bribe them with £5 million. But apparently what some universities do is, obviously they've got their own professors, but there's quite a lot of people who achieve academic prowess, but their material is, in a sense, very much only really accessible to their own peers. So apparently people had looked at some of my work and went, well, it might not be PhD status, but you've actually impacted a lot of people in the UK and around the world, and taking, I guess, some complex psychological ideas and making them simple and accessible. So I was approached by the university and developed a relationship over the last sort of like 18 months. And so I'm, a visiting professor at the University of Chester. And unbelievably, I can actually call myself a professor, which, if people know me, go, you are the most unlikely professor on the planet. And they've probably got a point, but hey ho, it's what's been given. And if it opens a few doors for me, enhances a little bit of credibility, because there's a lot of motivational speakers out there. There's a lot of people who do, no offense, but a 1-week NLP course, and all of a sudden they're a master on this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And not knocking NLP, we're not knocking 1-week courses, but you can go from zero to suddenly being seen as a perceived expert overnight. You can sell 3 books on Amazon and be a bestseller. So I know that's the environment we work in, and it's not always easy. So I think, well, I am actually officially a Sunday Times bestselling author. That's not just me coming up with a title, it's a fact. And I'm also a professor. But, at the end of the day, it's, yes, you can say it massages your ego, but I'm more bothered about effectiveness than about ego satisfying. And if being a certain title opens doors and means I get to speak in places I wouldn't normally get to speak in, I'll take it.
Well, maybe that'd be your next book, How to Massage Your Ego.
I know a few speaker buddies who could give me advice on how best to do it.
Okay, so let's kick off. Let's ask you, and the book you're most famous for, although actually your current book is making huge waves about, helping teenagers. Come to that in a minute. But the book that catapulted you to fame is SUMO, Shut Up and Move On. How did that come about? What is SUMO?
Okay, so I'm doing an event in, I think it was around 2001, 2002 in Glasgow. I'm working as an associate trainer on behalf of a training company. And I'm doing a course called Coaching and Counselling Skills Courses for Managers. And at some stage on this 2-day workshop, someone, I cannot picture them, I cannot tell you if it was a man or a woman, but at some stage, somebody says, and I apologise if you're Scottish, well, if all else fails, you can tell them to sumo. So everyone's like, pardon? Shut up, move on. So in other words, we're doing all this in-depth about counselling and coaching and how do you feel about that? And let's explore this. And this person goes, shut up, move on. And it was just a phrase, Dave. That's all it was. In a sense, I like to put it like this, because someone now said to me, well, that little phrase, have you given this guy any royalties? And it's like, well, I kind of take your point. It was just a phrase I started to use a little bit, and it kind of evolved, it grew, and it developed. And it's almost like someone handing you a seed and going, here, catch that. And they'd not done anything with the seed. It was just a seed. And I guess what I've done over the years since 2002 is I've planted it, I've nurtured it, I've watered it, I've fed it. And then I've kind of like taken cuttings from it and almost like created a garden from it. And that's kind of what I've sought to do. And SUMO, yeah, so it started off simply as a kind of catchphrase. And then I started to say, okay, we do need to shut up and move on. But sometimes maybe there's a bit more to it than that. And the shut up bit really is about take time out, stop, think, reflect, press pause, and then move on. Because we're all, you know, it's great to take action, but sometimes you can, you know, you're not. Since we've been doing stuff in schools, we have an alternative definition of SUMO, and that is stop, understand, move on. And the real bonus for your listeners and your viewers is this. SUMO is a word, not as an acronym, but as a word in Latin, means to choose. So there's a Latin phrase, sumo vita, which means choose life. So I'm hoping that SUMO helps people to choose a better life by thinking about the choices they make every single day. So it's a book. It underpins all my work. And now, as you rightly said, last October 2020, a new book came out called Yes, The SUMO Secrets to Being a Positive, Confident Teenager.
Go on, tell us about that.
Well, with the book and with everything else that I do, Dave, it's about taking what is potentially complex ideas in psychology, you know, related to cognitive behavioral psychology, cognitive behavioral theory, ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, throw in some Stoicism, throw in some Buddhism, some Christianity, some Judaism, and actually going, okay, all this wisdom I've drawn from, let's just communicate it in a really accessible visual way that sticks, that makes sense, that doesn't overcomplicate things. But as some people have said to me, the more they've read, particularly like SUMO and the recent one, the Yes book, they go, do you know what? When you read it a second time, you see all the kind of depth and the theory behind a lot of it. But I'm not here to impress you with theory. I'm just here to share some good ideas. Because in a nutshell, I go, SUMO, how do I get the best out of myself, get the best out of others, and get the best out of life? And although I realize some of you will be listening to this rather than watching it, but with the Yes book, Dave, I was literally sat where I am now this time last year writing this book. And I put something on Twitter that I was writing it. And someone said, it's a great idea, Paul, but you'll never get kids to read it. Kids don't read anymore. Well, interestingly enough, I'm thinking, talk about a universal global statement that speaks on behalf of every child on the planet that they don't read. But I do think they were trying to actually say, look, you can't just expect a kid to pick up a textbook and get engaged. So I got involved with an illustrator I've worked with before. I've tried to make this the most colourful, visual, illustrated, engaging book where there's just all kinds of challenges, there's humour, there's engagement. And I think that was massively important. And the feedback I've had since it came out just a few months ago is just how much kids are actually enjoying it.
And it's like right book, right time, right moment for it.
It is and it isn't. There's I know what you mean, but I don't know if it's there's a Charles Dickens novel. I don't know if it's Great Expectations. It might be another one, but it starts with, I think, something along the lines of the following. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And what I mean by that, Dave, is you're dead right. This is the best time ever for a book that helps young people with positivity, confidence, resilience. And although we don't use mental and emotional health as words in the book, but it's a lot about that. So it's the best of times. But you know what, Dave? It's also the worst of times because we've sent the book out to countless schools, but they're so busy firefighting, testing, just trying to navigate through the day that actually I've sent that book, my own book, with a personalized handwritten card to my former schools. And you think, well, if a former pupil's going to write a book and personally sign a card and you're bound to hear from them at some stage. Well, it's been 4 months and I haven't heard from them. So there's that sense of, and by the way, I'm not bitter, but it's making me think, what is going on in their world right now that means even when they get a book that could really help their young people, and it's written by a former pupil, but you're actually so overwhelmed and stressed that actually you haven't even got 5 minutes to have a look at the book or even to reply to the guy who sent it. So it's the best of times on one level, but I also feel it's like the worst of times because, you know, teachers are under so much pressure, particularly head teachers at the moment.
You should have sent them the How Not to Worry book you wrote as well. So
You know,
I
right.
meant what I said earlier about the impact your books has, because I know, like myself, you love the fact that we're gratefully well paid for what we do, and we love the fact that we frequently get a nice little round of applause and a thank you more than most people doing their jobs. But you and I, we go after an impact, a difference to make. And your stuff, be it live as a speaker or in your books, you create an impact. Any ego or pretense aside, why do you think you have such an impact?
You know, there's a phrase you use: behind someone's glory, there's always a story. And if you were to, you know, look at me on one level and you see the books and the titles and some of the people I've worked with, and you see me on stage, you think, whoa, glory, glory. But there's a story. And the story isn't a straightforward one. It's one where, I mean, I've been to 4 different primary schools by the time I was 10. I'd had let's say, a number of different male role models in my life that were sometimes given the name father or stepfather, and that wasn't always a great experience, and I ran away from home at the age of 10. So I think one of the reasons why I've had some impact is because I've not just stumbled upon an idea and think, oh, this is good, I might share it. It's like I've stumbled and struggled through life, but along the way, I found some stuff that's really helped me. And over time, I've thought, how can I share that with others? Because I'm thinking this is benefiting me. It might also benefit a lot of other people as well. So it's very much not in from an ivory tower point of view. I'll share my knowledge. It's been from almost like looking up from the gutter and going, hey, I found a torch. I'm going to get some light here. It might help me, by the way. If I can shed some light on your stuff as well, then great. If it doesn't work for you, fine. But if it does, great. So I think maybe it's from the intent and the position and place I've come from, Dave, has made people engage with my ideas, really.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, let's see if we can get a bit of secret sauce out of you by asking you, from all of your books, your knowledge and the wisdom you've acquired over the years, if there's 1 or 2 little things that everyone watching or listening to this today could take regular little action on every day that would have a profound impact, in your opinion, what would those 2 things be?
I would say, first of all, it's a formula. I talk about it in my SUMO book. It's the cornerstone to all my SUMO material, and it's also in the Yes book. In the Yes book, I call it the magic formula, and the formula is E plus R equals O. And that is, it's the event plus our response or reaction that influences the outcome. And I think it's very easy for people just to go, I've had this event, so you know what the outcome's going to be. Well, we can't always control or influence events, but what we can control and influence is our response to them. We can control and influence how we interpret the event. And this goes back to ancient Stoicism and their way of thinking about things. And, you know, and so it's, you know, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, all those kind of thinkers talking about how we maybe frame or see an event. And I think in life, we get challenges. That's the event. I mean, we get opportunities as well. Whatever the event is, it's an event, but it's not inevitable what the outcome will be. That's where you and I come in, where we come in terms of how do I respond or react to it. And I think it's always recognizing, you know, E plus R equals O. It's like, if you want to win the game of snakes and ladders, you're going to land on some snakes. Well, that's the event. Now, your response is to quit playing the game and go home sulking, or you roll the dice and you play again, because you're only going to find a ladder if you stay in the game. So E plus R equals O. And then I'd like to quote, you know, at the end of the day, Dave, I'm a professor, so you'd expect me to quote from some, you know, philosopher or some academic researcher, and I kind of will. And I'd like to quote from Doty from 1993, when the first advert was shown of Tesco's, where they used this phrase, every little helps. And I want you to think about this as a top tip, is that it's very easy to, there's a verse actually, it's in the Old Testament, and it says, don't despise the day of small things. And for me, it's like, don't underestimate the power of small steps. I know you want to have big goals, but don't despise or underestimate the small steps, because actually every little helps. Every little action you take today will either be working for you or against you. You won't see the result of it immediately, because that's how life is, but over time you will. So E plus R equals O, and every little helps. I will sort of just meditate or reflect for about a minute or two. You go, well, what are you going to do for that? It's fine. If I'm awake, if everyone's awake for on average 16 hours a day,
yeah,
and in those 16 hours a day, you do 176 steps. All right. So you do 176 steps each hour. That's all you do, 176 steps. Over a year, you'll have done 1 million steps. That's it. If you want to walk an extra 1 million steps a year, then do an extra 76 steps an hour while you're awake, because every little helps. It adds up. Your 1 million is your big goal, but it's those small goals, those small steps you take that will get you to your big goal. Every little helps.
Anyone who's heard my goal setting stuff knows that I bang on about how the guy who invented the acronym SMART is misquoted, because he was a project manager who worked on multi-billion-dollar projects. What he actually said was the steps to your goal should be SMART. And I 100% agree. Tiny little steps, you climb mountains, quite literally. Paul McGee, Professor Mucker, Paul McGee.
Get it right, Dave, get it right.
Speaker, Captain's best-selling author of Yes, fantastic book for teenagers, and SUMO, Shut Up and Move On. You've been so generous of your time, as always. How can people get hold of you if they want you, Paul?
If they want to contact me, I mean, I'm pretty active on social media. So if you're on Twitter @the Sumo Guy, or Instagram @the Sumo Guy, or check out my website, thesumoguy.com. You can access a newsletter I send out once a month, and also I've got a YouTube channel which people might find of value as well. So thesumoguy.com and @the Sumo Guy on social media.
So remember, guys, shut up, move on. Remember Paul McGee. Get in touch, follow him on Twitter. Paul, thank you very much indeed. And for everyone else, see you soon on another Dave's Desk. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Then click the TV to watch the next video. Oh, and don't forget to visit our website at davidhyner.com to claim your free audiobook. Until the next time, go Rhino. Having it.